Greetings, familia, dearly beloveds. Hope everybody's doing wonderful. I'm trying to shoot a couple of these videos, diversify my bonds, as Ajizza says. As I mentioned on the other video, I tried to do these on like Facebook Live, but the tech was not, the signal was just not transmitting the frequencies, so decided to do these like regular old school video uploads. So we'll see how they go. We'll see if anybody gives a fuck. Already talked about some other stuff like the heavy stuff and the podcast, but I want to tell my island tour story once and for all. Pivotal time for your boy in my life, and choices I made and where they took me, right to this very moment, you know. So to paint the picture, I was 20 years old. I was my second semester of my sophomore year at Champaign College in Burlington, Vermont, which was like one big Phish show, Burlington in the late 90s. Literally, because after Clifford Ball in the August 96, I showed up in Burlington 2 weeks later, and most of the hanger-ons and tour wooks, and they weren't even called wooks back then, were hanging out in downtown Burlington because it was right across Lake Champlain from the Plattsburgh site. So I kind of got to school and it was just like all Phish all the time, and we developed like a little posse of, you know, fans, young kids, getting to college, all that privilege, you know, white boy shit, but also an amazing experience I wouldn't trade for the world. The whole Phish thing is some of the most worthwhile life experiences, and relationships come out of that are some of the deepest and most treasured and profound in my life. And a lot of that starts at this whole island tour thing, because I had seen Phish 20-ish times before then. So I was into it and I was in Burlington, but I wasn't like, you know, I saw like a 7 or 8 97 shows, which was great, but it wasn't like some of the kids I rolled with in Burlington, who remain my friends to this day. And we were just kind of figuring out, knowing each other. And one of them was this cat, Steven Simone, who was already like, you know, triple digits by then, probably. And I was getting my customary smoothie at the Liquid Energy Cafe on Church Street in Burlington. And on Thursday, April 2nd, had no plans to go to the shows. Remember, you had to go to the computer lab for internet, and cell phones were a rarity. They were around, but they weren't like everyone had them. They sure as shit didn't have smartphones or anything close. So I was kind of blissfully unawares that quote island tour, which was hastily announced a few weeks earlier, was about to go down, even though I loved Phish, etc., and lived in Burlington. So just maybe I was baked that week, but it just didn't occur to me. So I see Steven and he's like hustling, and I'm like, yo, what up, homie? What it do, baby pa? And he's like, yo, man, I don't mean to be like, yo, but I gotta roll. We're leaving for the island tour, like T-minus. I was like, oh shit, that's tonight. Whoa. I threw caution to the wind because responsibility wasn't in my handbook at those times. And I said, dude, you got room for your boy? And he was like, yeah, man, we're leaving in like an hour. I was like, cool. I lived at 272 Pearl Street, like equidistant from UVM campus to where we were on Church Street. What do you know, an hour and change later, Ollie and Steven, neither of who I knew that well, rolled up or like, get in. I threw like a bunch of shit in a backpack real quick and like handfuls of weed, and grabbed like $100 cash and hopped in the car. And of course it was like 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock. So Ollie is doing like 100 miles an hour down like, you know, Vermont country roads. I think it's like Route 9 maybe, or 7, through Whitehall, right there where Trey got in trouble years later, and down past Albany on 87, just like flooring it. And I'm in the back seat just like, okay, I guess I'm in it to win it. So finally we get to Nassau. We like close the door to the car in the parking lot at like 7:48. And I have to get a ticket. And first thing I see, because the lot is kind of desolate, it's just before showtime, and it wasn't a very sold show anyway. in those days. Huge hockey arena, hastily announced Thursday night. Therefore, there was the infamous ticket tree. Alas, plucked myself a ticket off the ticket tree, walked inside, boom, tube opener. That's what you're hearing in the background right now. So that's Thursday 4/2. I'm not going to get into all the Phish nerd stuff because people break that down everywhere, and I could talk Phish till the cows come back from Coventry, but I'm not going to do it at the moment because I'm trying to keep this 15-ish minutes, if not less. But I will mention a couple things along the way. After that show, great show. I think I watched maybe the beginning with Stephen and Ollie, lost them, found the homies, Jason Abrams, J.A., you've heard him on my pod, a couple other cats, Slater, Gola, and they have like a hotel hang situation going, floor space there, party. Okay, those are my hometown homies. Time out. Roll down with my Vermont homies. My hometown homies come up from Cherry Hill, New Jersey and Philly, and I'm hanging with them, and I am partying with them. Wake up on Friday, April 3, and I have no ticket, so I go to the venue early. I paid like face value for a ticket. I ended up, again, no phones, and I didn't have this crazy huge network of friends and fans from here, there, and everywhere. So I ended up watching, dancing, taking in, experiencing Friday, April 3rd, solo. Just weed. Like, and hands down, I say to the day it's the best Phish show I ever saw. And I know it's like not a controversial opinion, like it's much ballyhooed. But yeah, I just got myself a ticket, went in, watched the whole show. I remember the second set like it was yesterday. The roses are free, huge oceanic jams, like transcendental, and then the Cup. And during the raging Trey song, again, Cup wasn't a well worn out old shoe yet, so it was like electric in there. And at the peak of Trey's solo, the shirtless dude jumped on stage, did a little jig. Pete Carini, their bouncer, if you will, comes out to sack him, and at the peak of the solo, he does a stage dive, which never happens at Phish, obviously. Lights up, Kuroda, boom, oh, what a beautiful buzz, just synergy, just perfection. You can see the video on YouTube, it's epic. And I just remember being like, holy moly. And then from there, the Antelope that follows is like hands down my number one also. Just incredible storytelling by Trey on the guitar. And of course, then they do the Carini's Gonna Get Ya, Carini, working it into the Hood. I mean, it's like, was it Hood? Oh, it doesn't matter. There was the Carini encore. That was like, they brought him out. I'm trying to get this music cued back up here. There we go. And it's funny when you think about it, like these type of show experiences, like it planted this energy inside of me that I, not unlike, I guess, the first time you do this drug or that drug, where it's like, I need that. Chase that forever. I mean, it wasn't my first show, but it was definitely like the time I was like holding my heart in my hands, like, holy shit, did that just happen? Yeah, triple encore. I came out of that show, went back to the homies' hotel. We partied our asses off, right? And then stayed up all night almost, just on the excitement. Woke up like 11 o'clock, scrambled my shit together. I don't have a ride. I don't know where I'm going. The dudes in my room are going home, back to Cherry Hill. Steven and Ollie are God knows where. I run out to the parking lot. It's empty. I can see one Volvo in the distance, right? One Volvo in the distance, and it was these kids from Dayton, Ohio. And they were, they had gotten religion at the Dayton shows December of 97, and they had like fucked off life and driven out to these shows, and they were pulling out of the parking lot. I rolled up on them, 20 years old, from Burlington, like, I got weed, can I jump in? They were like, sure. Rolled with them to the ferry where I listened to them talk and yell at each other and all this crazy stuff. And apparently I was some like Grizzly Tour veteran at 20 years old with 20 shows under his belt, so they deferred to me across the board. And we get to the ferry. I finally get out. It's like rainy and kind of like cold and windy. I'm trying to light a oneie on the deck of the ferry. This girl rolls up on me. She's like, "Can you please buy my tickets?" I was like, "Huh?" I guess people took a bath on tickets in Nassau, right? So the ticket tree, etc. So this girl was worried she wasn't going to be able to get rid of her tickets. Now, mind you, neither of us were aware of the fact that the venue was like way smaller, and it was, of course, a Saturday and Sunday. So these tickets were actually hard to come by, juxtaposed to Nassau. And I was like, sure. So I paid her $20 for Saturday, and she gave me Sunday. And that was like the hugest score ever. And basically, I go back to the car, I jump in with them, they drop me off in Providence. I got all my shit in my backpack, all my stuff. And I don't know where I'm gonna stay or anything, but I got tickets. This was back in the time you could go into the show with a backpack full of stuff for your staying. You know, it's just a different time and place. And that's the show you're gonna hear tonight. Is the dinner and a movie from March 30, whenever somebody's watching this video, is that Saturday show, getting off the ferry and dropped off by those Dayton high schoolers. And yeah, somehow I found my cousin at the show. And my cousin is like the brother I never had. We did everything together. He was the reason I went to college in Vermont. We surfed as kids and saw the Dead together and Phish and just did everything together. Sleepaway camp, you name it. He's the brother I never had. And I didn't even know he was coming to the shows, but he drove down from Burlington for the 2 weekend shows. So I found him. Of course, he's from Haddonfield. Haddonfield dudes rage so hard, it's ridiculous, okay? So those guys are partying, and then they take me to this after party at fraternity, Matt Gray's fraternity in Providence, where they had 6-foot tanks and more kegs than I'd ever seen, and powder drugs, which, you know, at that time in my life, I didn't even know shit about shit. I was just like, holy crap, these cats get down, they get loose. But of course, there's Haddonfield, obviously, and any kind of vibe that those guys collect, you know, is going to be diabolical. But that said, I'm not sure where I stayed that night. It was like wherever I lay my head is home on some like Metallica shit, you know. And then Sunday I just stuck to my cousin like glue. And I would say Sunday, April 5th, almost as good as Friday, April 3rd in Nassau, especially the back end of the second set. The extra like funkathon that was going on, where Trey said, you know, y'all can go home if you want to go home, but we're just gonna funk out. The funk's too deep, I think was the exact quote. And he said, like, that's that, man, we're just gonna keep funking out. And we just danced, and I understand 4 shows, hitchhiking, partying, sleeping wherever I could find a spot, ferry rides, miracles, insane parties with like some of the most evil ragers you could ever imagine, at 20-year-old me at least. And then find my cousin, my brother. We do the last 2 shows together, and he safely gets me home, drives me and his like gold Nissan Pathfinder back to Burlington after the Sunday night show, after the funk was too deep, after the extra dance sesh. And I was in class Monday morning in Burlington at the corner of Willard and Maple for Champlain College. So all in all, 100 hours from the time I saw Steven outside the Liquid Energy Cafe in Church Street, everything I just last told you, till my cousin dropped me off and I went to class that morning. 100 hours, roughly $100, that set the proverbial gear shift for me. I went to, you know, more Phish shows than I ever dreamt of, and I hope to do it again. But I mean, just the whole lifestyle and my friend group and my adventures and all the abundance of blessings, and they just really stem from these primitive experiences with Phish and on tour and with those kids. So shout out Steven, shout out Ollie, thanks for making room for me in the car. Big up yourself, my cousin Dan. Thanks to those Dayton kids in the Volvo for scooping me. I know I'm forgetting. I made notes, I didn't look at them once. Y'all know what it is. Enjoy dinner and a movie, and please check out the Upful Life podcast if you like this kind of stuff I'm doing here. You can support me on Upful Life's Patreon account, patreon.com/UpfulLife.